Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so it's raining outside. I got some food ready for myself, but I did, before starting my day and going out there, I want to talk about the Los Angeles Lakers. Last night we got hats brought to us by a Brooklyn Nets team that is tanking. Obviously, we were down about 6 people. You know, LeBron wasn't out there, Dorian wasn't out there. A lot of the elements that make up our team and the strength that we provide ourselves as a small ball unit just wasn't on the floor. And I thought that in excuse me, in identifying what we do have, we didn't do a good job of deviating away from what we're used to in order to supplement what the unit that we had ultimately would need in order to be successful. I listened to JJ Redick and briefly speak about his point of view. He thought the Lakers took shortcuts. And, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, for me personally, in my reaction to the game, I wasn't mad at the players. Excuse me. I was actually mad at him. I thought that he didn't adjust out of small ball rotations and utilize his talent properly, so that, as I just said, what the guys that he did have out there needed would be in place so that they could be successful. That's really how I actually felt. I wasn't mad at the players. I thought the players did the best they could with what it is they were left with. And when we have our small ball lineups out there with Dorian, with Bron, we're far more capable of being a successful basketball team because of what they bring to the table. You can't ask any old guys, any cluster of people, to be able to have strengths necessary to defeat a team with 3 hard-playing centers, just in general. And that's why I think that this is a game where I think JJ, when he goes back and thinks about it a little more, looks at the tape a little more, he's going to understand a lot of his choices led to guys not being successful out there, just as much as maybe he thought some of their decisions and some of their lack of communication and some of their whatever he would consider shortcuts contributed to the losses. I really did. I really thought that. So Luka Doncic, looking at his numbers, 8 of 26, 3 of 10. If the shot ain't falling, it ain't falling. A lot of times I hear myself and a lot of other non-basketball playing minds give so much credit to guys when shots fall. Oh, he played so great, because the same shots he takes on a cold night actually went in. Nah, that's poor assessment of what a dude is doing. I think Luka took some pretty solid shots. They just happened not to fall. Now, if he were 26 or 26, 10 and 10 from behind the arc, and all of a sudden it's the greatest game we ever seen. Him taking those same shots. Either they're going to go in or they're not. You know what I mean? And so that's what it came down to. Plus, I gave Luka more of a pass in my head because I understood going into this game that he was dealing with the back. And he probably shouldn't have been out there. I thought that him laboring with that, for which is the fullness of his not great conditioning, whether it be the back problem or rolled ankle that took place in this game as well, or just him not being in shape because of the injury and other things, contributed to why he kept asking for screens, which basically frustrated me in how I was viewing it. Last night I misspoke and called it him calling for double teams, but the reality was that's exactly what he was doing. He was calling for screens that were bringing the double team. And after you see them doing that all game long, it does become a little frustrating, because essentially what you're calling for is not a screener, but for a double team to come and guard you. And we weren't reacting very well to that. I don't think JJ put Luka in the greatest position and not have that repeatedly take place all night long. And I thought that the Brooklyn Nets did a fantastic job with their wings forcing steals, for which we talked about a little bit, that they're a pretty good team at that. So for me, I just thought that this came back down to JJ not putting his guys in the best position to be able to compete. He was asking them, it's the same thing I said about the Philadelphia game. When certain guys go down, he want to keep the same game plan. But that logic doesn't hold up, because the people that go down in these cases Anthony Davis, in this case LeBron James and Dodo and all those other dudes, do specific things that cater to the success of the choices he makes in play style. If you don't deviate from that play style and you ask your other talent to do those same things, they don't have those same strengths, so it's not going to provide you that same result. And that is where I think JJ has really dropped the ball more than once and has cost his team losses, or wins in this case. The Philadelphia game was on JJ, the Brooklyn game was on JJ, because that is exactly what he did not do. He did not shuffle his play style to fit the strengths and weaknesses of the people remaining that he was forced to use. And that's the problem. Getting away from what would ultimately secure rebounds. The Brooklyn Nets had a severe offensive rebound advantage on the Los Angeles Lakers. They had 16 offensive rebounds to our 8. And we didn't put the bigs on the floor that could ultimately rebound. We didn't structure ourselves into position to gang rebound like we're supposed to. And we didn't have the small ball players that ultimately helped with that on the floor enough of the time. That's why I thought going to Vanderbilt sooner in the fourth quarter than he ultimately did was so important, because Vanderbilt could at least within his talent assist with the rebounding necessary to help this team with who we had left after all these damn injuries. And so that is what it came down to. I didn't agree with JJ as it pertains to blaming the players. No, I blame you, bro. You are why we lost to Brooklyn. You not playing Trey Jemison more, not playing Alex Len more, while having these not so great small ball units on the ground out there, trying to pretend like they Dodo, trying to pretend like they Bron, is why we lost. That's why we lost. Because the units that you have out there are not great at being small ball units. The players that we have when we're healthy are. So a great coach is going to have to find what the strengths and weaknesses are of the players he has remaining, and shift his play style and shift his strategy to fit their strengths. And don't blame them for not being able to without your help. You know? And you can't count on a guy like Austin Reeves, who's only, 3 games removed from a pretty serious injury, to come in here and be Austin from the game we had against Indiana. Go for 45 points and carry your team. He missed shots. 3 of 14 from the field, 1 of 5 from behind the arc. If he hits all 14 of them shots, oh, the greatest game. Oh, Austin's so great. He took the same shots. Either they're going to fall or they're not. In other areas of the game, he was actually pretty helpful. 10 assists, 8 rebounds, 1 block. But in order for us to actually be successful, based on how he was shooting, he needed to have 16 rebounds tonight. And who you asking him to rebound over? Guys that are bigger, longer, stronger, Claxton. They got tall, long players. If we had our full roster, all the people that we normally use, we would have matched up very well with this team. But because you had Connect, Vincent, Goodwin on the floor a good majority of the time. Goodwin has long arms, but he's like, 6'4"? You can't run small ball lineups with him playing the 4 against a team that has Nick Claxton and Deron Sharp, Noah Clowney, Cam Johnson. These people are tall and long. D'Angelo Russell. These people are tall. Zaire Williams. All these people. You can't run small against a bunch of guys that probably would be best going against what it is that you have. And that's exactly what it was, played right into their hands. They were able to play an excellent basketball game because they were able to secure boards. The lineups that we used were not particularly good defensively, especially against people bigger than them, so they were able to take care of the basketball. They had the best game in transition defensively they've had probably all season long. The one thing that we noticed about the Brooklyn Nets over the course of their losing streak is that they were hemorrhaging conceded points off turnovers. They only had 4 tonight. They've been averaging, in just as roughly off my head, probably about 20 points. So if you can't attack them in that area, you can't force them into turnovers, and you're not getting any points in transition off defense, well, you're not beating the Brooklyn Nets, because that's how everybody's been beating the Brooklyn Nets. They've been getting killed on the glass, if I'm not mistaken. Well, you lost dramatically on the glass, particularly giving them second chance points. And then you got to also identify that they're shooting a lot of threes. They've been having games where they shoot 45, 50 threes. That's what their coach is asking them to do, is just launch the three ball. Well, they had it going tonight. They shot 40% from that, 18 to 45. So if you're giving them second chance points, they're shooting three. You know what I mean? You have cold players. How the hell are you going to win? And you can blame the referees. We sent them to the line 30 times. But they shot 63% from the free throw line. They weren't even really capitalizing on that. If anything, us sending them to the line was probably best because of how poorly they were shooting from the line. 19 to 30. You see what I'm saying? When a team is shooting that poorly from the line, what you find is that it offsets the fact that they're shooting so well as they're launching so many threes. So if you didn't foul them on those possessions, then they're likely connecting on more threes, based on how well they're shooting the three. So you turn what would otherwise be a 3-point possession into a 1-point possession based on how poorly they shot the free throw. So like, this is the reality of that. The game was closer because we fouled them as much as we did. Because the referees were so bad, people were saying they were bad, they were saving your backside. Because if those fouls aren't being called, Brooklyn's been connecting on threes and getting offensive rebounds, second chance points for their shots. You'd rather them at the line. So these are the type of things that when you break down the game, you really understand. Like, I understand this. I'm not sitting here saying, oh man, the referees killed the Lakers against the Brooklyn Nets. There were some bad calls for sure. Some no calls, people getting pushed in the back and stuff like that. The referees have had their struggles against the Lakers for 3 games straight. And we've called it out 2 of the 3 games. I didn't do it against Brooklyn because I didn't see it that serious to me. I didn't see it that serious. And, you know, I saw that when JJ was in his press conference, I saw that the questions that were posed toward him were trying to get him to insinuate that Luka has been over yapping at the refs. And I thought JJ handled it well. He said that he thought Luka was fine. He knows Luka to be someone who yaps at the ref even more than that. I think, and so I thought that was the right way to handle that. We don't want to push Luka away by telling him, hey, you need to reel it in and not be yourself as it pertains to how you go about your thing. We know when you pick up Luka Don, you know he's going to bark at the refs. You know what I'm saying? That's part of the Luka experience. So for me, and you just got this guy 11, 12 games ago, and he's already dealing with a lot. The last thing he really needs is for his new coach to muzzle him from being himself. This is part of the Luka experience. If you don't want your star yelling at the refs, you don't pick up Luka Don. So for me, it's like, I'm not gonna sit up here and ask Luka Don to put on new stripes so that people can feel better about him. Yeah, not yapping at the refs. I will tell him that you doing so is a problem. But I'm not going to do it publicly if I'm his coach. I will tell him if you don't reel that in, they're going to continue to provide you the opposite results you're looking for. They're going to make it a point to continue to screw you over. And that's part of what it is you're dealing with. Sometimes you got to leave a little meat on the bone with those people because they're getting yapped at by people all game long. If they're corrupt, they're corrupt. It's not like they're going to change what they're doing based on the fact that you're yapping at them. You just got to understand the psychology behind it and play into your own favor. And that's what I would tell Luka. This is chess, not checkers. These are human beings. And if they are corrupt, then there's a lot of pressure on them to do corrupt stuff. So you yelling at them is not going to make them straighten up and fly white. You see what I'm saying? Whatever the case may be, the less you say, the more respect you'll likely gain. It's chess, not checkers. That's what Luka needs to understand and believe. That the more he yaps at these people from night to night to night, the less they're likely to give him the calls he's looking for. The more they're likely to allow him to get hit on the head and not do anything. So that's what I would tell him, man. Play the psychological game with these refs. Pick and choose your battles. Don't cry wolf. You know what I'm saying? Don't over complain. It's the wrong psychological button to press with those people. But I don't think that the media should be trying to bait our coach into saying that publicly. That type of stuff makes me irritated with the media as they continue with their own agenda to try to instigate. I thought that JJ did a fantastic job of rebuking all of that. So yeah, that's what I want to say. I'm not mad at Luka, but I do want Luka to understand that he's not going to get the result he's looking for. And if you continue to do so, you are going to irritate your coach and your fellow players, especially if it's going to cost us on the defensive end. But see, we've had the same problem with Bron too. So as I often say about things, when you have a team, just like I say about missed shots, if I got one guy missing a bunch of shots, I don't need another guy launching when he can't hit shots too. That leaves my team with two players cold. This is relevant for this game in two different ways, because that's exactly what we saw from Luka and Austin, but even more so. If I have another player who also yaps at the refs and sometimes doesn't get back on defense because he's complaining about a call, I need not you do that too, because we got to make up for him doing it as well. Y'all both got to carry each other by not continuing to bleed into the same problems that ultimately compound themselves upon our unit. I am my brother's keeper. Same exact idea on a basketball team. If the other guy can't rebound, I need to rebound more. If the other guy's bricking a million shots, I need not take bad shots myself. If the other guy is yelling at the referees and getting technicals, I need not be the same problem. I have the same problem. So like this is part of maturing as a basketball player. I feel, man. And Luka's as our first, second, whatever y'all want to peck in order at this point, most important player. Y'all gotta. Those two have to make up for one another's weaknesses, just like they have to continue to learn how to gel with one another. That's what I think about LeBron James and Luka Doncic at this point. So it's a lot we could take from this basketball game. I don't want to minimize the poor stuff that took place down there that caused us to lose, but there is a conversation that needs to be had about we just flat out didn't have our best players, and some of the guys that we're asking to lead us don't have chemistry yet. Austin and Luka don't have chemistry yet. Why? Because Austin was out for half of the time that Luka's been on the team. And when you start removing other elements like Dodo, other elements like Bron, other elements like Jackson, now you got units on the floor that don't know one another, and you ask them to go out there and basically play like they've been playing together for years. It's just not realistic. That's not how this actually works. So I give them a pass for just not having chemistry out. They don't know one another that well. And you're really missing some things, key things that make Luka's game open up. The lob threat center is very essential to Luka Doncic being successful, because he's not going to be able to blow past people. He is going to need screens, and they may just decide, we can crowd him out. And he don't have trusty players to pass the ball to in a lot of situations, or if we crowd him the right way, he won't be able to do anything about it. This is where Luka's going to have to work on his conditioning. This is another incentive for him to get in better shape, because you need to be able to have more success beating people off the dribble. You can't keep asking for screens on every play at the top of the key. They're ignoring that player that you're screening, as we mentioned last night in the misspeak, and doubling you, forcing you into turnovers and getting out of transition and beating you. When, on games where we're not rebounding well, and we're not forcing any turnovers, and we're sending it to the line, and they're hitting shots, you're just compounding so many different things that make it so that you lose a basketball game. That can't be one more problem. You got to be able to beat your man off the dribble, or you got to be able to handle them double teams better and mix up what you're doing, especially down the damn stretch. So I thought from that standpoint, this was on Luka. That was poor. But also, coach needs to be able to pull him over to the side and say, look, we're going to deviate from this. This ain't working. We ain't going to even put you in that position. We're putting you somewhere else. We're going to do something else, so that is not something that is so easily continued to be repeated by the Brooklyn Nets. So it's a lot of things strategy-wise that bothered me. The refs were the last part of this that I was even concerned about. I didn't even think about them throughout the course of me reacting to this basketball game. I was too busy reacting to my own team and the choices that they made to deviate away from the adjustments necessary to fit who they actually had on the floor and to fit what was actually coming against them in the Brooklyn Nets, who were just simply playing very well in some key areas that we couldn't afford to allow that to happen. So that's my point of view on that basketball game, man. I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm not, like I said, I'm not angry. You're going to lose games without as many players as we were missing. You're going to lose games. No Rui, no Dodo, no Bron. You're going up against a bunch of players that are 6'9", with 6'10 wings, 6'11 wingspan. You're going to lose most of the time. regardless of what uniform they're wearing or where they're at in their timeline or any of that. It just don't matter. You're going up against people that are going to be able to beat you to loose balls, who are likely in better condition than a lot of your guys based on just various different variables, who know one another better in the case of the Brooklyn Nets, who have much less to lose, who don't see a schedule ahead of them that's going to just fatigue them just off thinking about it, which I think is also what the Lakers are looking ahead. You know, that kind of stuff. On the road, they had their own building. There's just a lot of stuff that just, you know, as I told people in the video that I made earlier in the day, don't be surprised if you lose this basketball game. Because with the ingredients that you're missing, coupled with the psychological aspects of what it is you're faced with, your team is up against a lot. And, you know, it was going to require Austin to play very well, for which he didn't shoot well. Luka to play very well, for which he didn't shoot well, nor make good decisions, in order for you to have an opportunity at success. I thought it would have made a lot of sense if the Lakers just sat Luka last night based on that back. Because a lot, I think, of what he was dealing with, as I may have already said in this video, was him laboring on that back and needing assistance and not necessarily having his full range of motion to ultimately be the star that we needed him to be. We needed him to rest, probably more than we needed him out there. And given that we lost that game any damn way, I wish we rested him. Hindsight is 20/20. You don't actually expect to lose to the Brooklyn Nets, especially with Luka on the floor. But I mean, if you did have the hindsight to know that you were going to lose, I'd have rested even more people. Especially with the schedule that's ahead, I'd have rested even more people. And so, man, that's just what it is, man. Dodo, I don't know what's going on with him. I don't know why he wasn't out there against his old team. Makes you wonder. Sometimes people don't like playing against their old teams. This is one of them situations where I wonder if that was the case. I don't know that anything's wrong there. Maybe they're just resting him. This ain't the game to rest that player. This is the game to rest that star that's dealing with the back. And the thing about Luka that we're going to have to understand as an organization is that he's going to always want to play through injury, but it's not always in his best interest to do so. He's the kind of player you got to save from himself. So resting him is going to be essential because he's always going to tell you, yes, I want to play. Yes, I want to play. He's not AD. AD was a little more balanced in that regard. AD's an older person, so he understands that a little better, how important it is to rest so that you have more energy. He ain't like that. He's going to be like, yo, I don't care. I'm hurting, but I'm playing. Yeah, my leg is falling off, but I'm playing. And then he'll be out there hobbled, hurting the team. This is what we need as an organization, need to identify the psychology of the player and shift our intentions toward protecting him from himself. Because he's going to want to go out there with half a limb. He's just wired like that. But in order for us to get the most out of him, we need him in better conditioning, and we need him not to be at half mast, asking for screens on every possession because he can't get past people. No. And so these are the type of things I'm like, oh man, we learn. I think the Brooklyn Nets game taught us a lot. And just the same, we need to keep our heads because at the end of the day, we were missing so many players, so many key elements to what it is that we do, having lineups on the floor that didn't know one another, starting lineup that never played with one another, missing LeBron James, only one game removed. I mean, we just need to be together as a unit. Don't start imploding because you lost a game like this, which is completely understandable given all that you got going on. And that's what I would tell JJ. Don't be overly frustrated with your unit. You were missing half of them. You know what I'm saying? And last but not least, you know you're leaving skin on the bone. I mean, meat on the bone, JJ. You ain't playing Cam Reddish. Based on what you had going on last night, he was one of your better players. I'd say he was your 7th or 8th best player based on what you had last night. You didn't use him. So when you look around and then start looking at who didn't and what didn't, hey man, don't let that leave your mind. There were things that you could have done that you didn't try because you don't believe in those things. It doesn't mean the things couldn't help you. Don't mean you don't win if you don't use those things a little more than you did. It's his own coach. I'm not going to take the onus off of him. I'm not. This game was lost because JJ did not coach a good basketball game. That's how I ended last night's video, I believe, and that's exactly how I'm going to end this one. Salute the Kobe Minute, BDL 44. I thank you all for watching. Out.